Guilty Gear Strive beta is over with. What does he think now? They've had a whole weekend and some chains to play this. Well, start with the good. Visually, it's great. Like, it is, man, this game is beautiful. Like, I would say it's even more beautiful than Grand Blue. It definitely outshines its predecessor, Xrd. It's really pretty game. The characters still do feel like themselves. Like, I don't feel truly unfamiliar, you know, especially with me playing Chip. I played Chip the entire beta against people, but I did play a lot of the other cast members just to kind of get a feel for what was different with them, if there was too many things at all. And yeah, everyone still pretty much feels like themselves. With a twist, of course. This new version, so there's going to be a little bit of a nuance or a new thing to learn about them. Gameplay, it just feels like it. Like, it feels also faster than Xrd, which is a good thing to me because I like the pacing of the older games a bit more. Not that I minded Xrd at all, because I did play Xrd for a very long time. It just feels a lot faster. You know, I think the combo system is pretty unique. It's pretty cool. Juggles is kind of a new thing for Guilty Gear anyway, so normally we just had ground to air combos and so forth. So this is kind of a cool little refreshing thing, especially with the wall splat and wall break mechanic. That is also pretty unique and new for Guilty Gear. So I do like those things about it. I do feel that all that is a great aesthetic to the game. So I think like all those things are pretty good. And, you know, as of course where there's good, there's bad, right? So let's talk about the bad. I'm going to start with the lobby system. The lobby system is just bad. It is just outright bad. Like, that lobby system doesn't really belong in the game. That looks like a game that they were probably working on previously that they just decided to just toss into this and make a lobby system. I'm a big perpetuant of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You've been using the same lobby system from Xrd, specifically Revelator, into, you know, Grand Blue and games moving forward. Why change it? You know, or they could have taken the lobby system from DD Tag, which I thought was pretty damn good too. So it's kind of like, I don't see the purpose of trying to do this new thing. You can do the towers and stuff like that, but just keep the lobby itself like that. There's no reason to change it, to be honest. Like, that part of the game doesn't need to be new. You can just utilize the old assets and everyone would have been happy. The connectivity issues were definitely bad. I do think that with the way the connections were, I think they should have waited till they did the netcode implementation for the rollback instead of using the delay. But as a quick little preface to that, I do believe that they did this beta to get the game in the hands of more people who weren't able to attend the events, like myself, like Frosty Carlson and Evo Japan and stuff like that, who weren't able to attend those events to actually try the game out. Because I can understand them wanting to get more feedback than just those few hundred people. That does make sense. Man, I kind of wish they would have waited for the rollback, because that would have been a lot better. But moving forward, I think other issues, like from a layout standpoint, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's not the best either. I'll talk more on the gameplay thing now. Whew, the counter hit stuff, that's gotta go. I think the counter hit camera and stuff like that, all that adjustment stuff for the hype, we don't need that in the game. I think it's fine without it. If they do want to keep it, it doesn't need to be so. I don't need Skrillex in my Guilty Gear counter hit combos. Okay, I'm cool with dubstep, but we don't need the wub wubs when we hit the counter hit and this big old, you know, in your face type stuff. Like, I get it, it was a counter hit. A lot of the design choices and philosophies behind this game are because people didn't really understand what was going on in Guilty Gear, and they try to make a lot of things that happen in the game more apparent and more accessible to people to understand from a viewership standpoint. What I said in my previous video. On top of that, I do think the motion blur in the game is a bit much. They can kind of bring that down as well, because I'm sure if they release a PC version, you'll be able to take that out and it won't be as jarring. But most likely tournament standards are going to be the PS4 version, so it's kind of like, yeah, I get it, you want it to be pretty, the motion blur is nice and all, but like, either tone it down, take it out, because it's not necessary in my opinion. With that being said, the UI in terms of the bursts and risk gauge, they made it better, but I still think it's not good enough. I think the burst should stay. There's no need to change it from old games. Like, they should just stay on the opposite ends where players can look left and look right when they have to, instead of it being like it just gradually moves forward as the life bars deplete. It's like, you don't really need that. Like, the player is already thick. So from a player standpoint, right, or from a gameplay standpoint, right, from a visual standpoint, when you're playing fighting games, right, everything is static so that you can always go back and look at those places, so that if something changes, like life deficits change, or you need to just recheck how much meter this guy has, or how much life he has, or does he have a burst or doesn't, what's his risk gauge. Like, it's easier when things are just static. You know, you're making it where you have to focus on the characters and then the life bars and then the meters. It's like the eyes are just shifting all over the place, and I don't think that's good for the player. I can understand from a standpoint of like, it can seem, I guess, maybe somewhat hyped because you're seeing, you know, the icons move and it's more interactive. But again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This has been a formula in fighting games for ages. There's no need for the life bars to do all this extra stuff. Like, the characters are the focus. The life bars and everything else moving are not the focus. So it would be great if they decided to just say, okay, let's just go back to what it was. We don't need this. It really, Arxis, you don't. Just ain't broke, don't fix it. I do think that the wall break mechanic is cool. I like that idea. I think that there should be more conditions to be met for that. You know, like, it shouldn't just be automatic that we get to do this wall break mechanic like off rip. I get that we have to do a certain amount of hits to get to that point, and that kind of triggers that state, but the sit down stun, I believe, can still be teched. So it's like, and not to mention there's a lot of invul frames on there, so it's kind of like, give us the option, you know? Give us the option to go for maybe like specific moves can cause wall splat, or you can take them from the wall splat to another state. Like, it seems like Chip's Gamma Blade kind of has that property where it has the ability to just kind of knock them down off the wall, or like off the wall splat state, which is pretty cool. Like, so I think if they had moves that were like that, moves that triggered it, and moves that kind of like let them sit down, like, that's kind of cool. Because then at that point you have a requirement to meet, and you also have a way to break it if you happen to go for the requirement, if you like decide to change your mind. You want more options. You want players to have more options. So give us the option to choose whether or not we want to wall splat them and transition for the meter gain and max damage, or take a reduced combo and go for OP. Now, of course, you could just sweep them and get to that point, but the way the RC system works, since it bursts them and it launches them, that was kind of one of my concerns, that the RC system, while it's unique and it's probably the best thing about the game, which I should have mentioned earlier, but the RC system is probably the best part about the game. But it launching the opponent is kind of like, I guess Drift RC or the Dashing RC kind of allows you to kind of mitigate that part that launches them and keep the opponent grounded, because that's essential for chip combos. Well, we'll get into that later. I do think that's some stuff that they should probably readjust with the RC system and all that, but yeah, they need to figure out a way to make it where you can choose to do one or the other, because sometimes in your combos, you're not going to get the opportunity to always knock them down with the sweep. Because they're juggled, I believe sweeps don't just cause knockdown from that point. I didn't really get a chance to test that, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. So, with that being said, yeah, they kind of need to readjust that. At the end of the day, Arxis still has a lot of work to do. The one thing I will say that I'm grateful for, and I think I should put it as a thing for people to note, as someone who's played this series for so long, this is actually the first time in Guilty Gear history that, more or less, on a global scale, we've had the ability to actually chime in from our own region to tell them to fix things or adjust things. Previously, we've never had that opportunity. This is like the first time. Because the first demo for Xrd, the game had already been out, and it was only for Japan. You know, when Xrd had first came out, that was the only way to play it. We got the Revelator demo, but guess what? The game was already out. This is the first time in the history of Guilty Gear we've ever been able to say, this game's not out yet. Oh snap! You gave us a chance to look at it. Okay, cool. Here's what we think. So I think for me as a longtime player, this is probably like the biggest treat for me. And I think that's part of the reason why I say what I say about the demo. Like it's still a beta, still a demo. Things are always subject to change. There's a big agreement when you turn the damn thing on that tells you it's a beta. There's things that might be changed. But end game, I want this to be a great game. I really do want Guilty Gear Strive to be a great game. I think that's the case for a lot of people too. I want this to be a unique entry into the series, and this is exactly the route that they're taking. But I do think they need to let this game sit in the oven a lot longer. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say we would probably all be okay with them to release the game next year later, like maybe summertime or something, maybe after Evo or something, or right before Evo or something, and don't include it in Evo, please don't. But anyway, somewhere in that ballpark, so that it has more time, because I think I would want them to do another beta test with more characters, more changes to the system, and the rollback netcode implementation. This way we can give them the proper feedback. This way before the game comes out, the rollback can be good, the game can be better, and we can have an overall complete package that we can all be happy with. You know what I mean? We don't want the same travesty that happened in Street Fighter V that happened in Guilty Gear Strive. I could tell you as a longtime fan, I do not want that. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people that don't want that to happen either. So that's pretty much how I feel right now about Strive. It's not that bad, but it could be infinitely better. That's the biggest takeaway to take from this. That's how I feel. So that being said, this is your boy Kensu. We'll sign off for now. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.